Alright guys, check it out. This is my setup over here for today's video, starting off with the brains behind the whole setup, the Tenveo KB300 Pro. Alright guys, check it out. This is my setup over here for today's video, starting off with the brains behind the whole setup, the Tenveo KB300 Pro PTZ camera controller, which is actually controlling and allowing me to view each one of these four cameras over here. So I have four different brand cameras, and I specifically did that to show you guys that this PTZ camera controller does not just work with Tenveo PTZ cameras. It also works, for an example, with the OBSBOT Tail 2. This is the Tenveo PTZ camera, this is an Avkans PTZ camera, and this is a Feelworld PTZ camera. And let's just get a little bit more familiar over here with the rest of the setup. Besides the KB300 Pro along with the PTZ cameras, we also do have the YOLOBOX Ultra. This is a live streaming video switcher and recorder, and I'm actually not live streaming right now. I'm actually taking advantage of the isolated recordings that this switcher has, which is allowing me to record all four of these cameras to this SSD over here because it does support isolated recordings. And let's get a little bit more familiar. So how are these cameras connected to this YOLOBOX Ultra? Via the HDMI cables over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next over here we have an HDMI output, which is being sent over here to my left hand side to an external monitor, so I can view what I'm viewing over here on the Ultra, but basically on a bigger screen, which is my program. Next over here you'll also see that the Ultra is connected via a network cable, and again that's just allowing me, for an example, to connect these cameras to this Ultra if I wanted to via NDI, because all of these cameras do support NDI besides the Feelworld camera. The Avkans, the Tenveo, and the OBSBOT Tail 2 can all be connected if I wanted to via NDI to the YOLOBOX Ultra. So let's go ahead, now that you guys are a little bit more familiar with my setup, let's go ahead and get a little bit more familiar with the Tenveo. Starting off, I'm going to say with the main feature, which is this large 7-inch LCD display screen, which does support not only this nice big single view over here, but it also supports a quad view. So what do I mean by quad view? Well, check this out. Currently right now we are looking at camera number 1, which the Feelworld over here is camera number 1, the Avkans is camera number 2, Tenveo camera number 3, and the OBSBOT Tail 2 is camera number 4. So currently right here you can see camera number 1 is highlighted, and now I have full control of the Feelworld PTZ camera to pan, tilt, zoom, etc. And the protocol that I'm using over here is the VISCA-Sony protocol. And I've also configured some presets as well. So let's just take it step by step over here. As you can see, I have control of this camera and I can view the camera right over here. But if I go ahead and press camera number 1, if I press this button another time, so now what we're going to see over here is all four camera previews. This is the quad view. You can see camera number 1 is onto the top left, top right is camera number 2, bottom left is camera 3, and bottom right is camera number 4. Nice and organized the way I've set up each camera in order over here. So now we can actually go ahead and still control camera number 1. If we wanted to, we can switch over to camera number 2, which is going to be the Avkans over here. And now we're going to have control of the Avkans camera as well. We can adjust the speed of that. That looks actually pretty quick. So we got the pan tilt speed right over here. You can see that it's much slower, or we can dial it down actually a little bit more. And now let's go ahead and control camera number 3, which is the Tenveo. We'll press camera number 3. You can see the preview over here. We can go ahead and pan it. We can tilt it. We can zoom in, etc. And let's go to camera number 4, the OBSBOT Tail 2. Same idea. We're going to go ahead and pan it and tilt it and so on. Again, you can see that one is going much slower. We can jack it up the speed of the pan and tilt a little bit. As you can see, it's a little bit more quicker. So it's really convenient to have this quad view over here. Or if you wanted to do maybe some focusing manually, or just double check the exposure or whatever settings that you want to adjust, you just go ahead and press the camera button again that you want to view on a nice larger screen. So again, the bigger screen, the single view, is going to support up to 1080p 30. The quad view, the maximum that we're going to be able to see for each one of these inputs, is going to be supporting up to 720p 30 frames per second. That is the maximum of the quad view for each one of the cameras. So again, the protocol that I'm using for each one of these cameras is the VISCA Sony protocol, and I do have the substream URL, so the RTSP, I have it set to configured for each one of these cameras set to 720p at 30 frames per second. So let's go ahead, switch over here to camera 1, and we're going to press it again, camera number 1, to give us that nice big view. So besides the nice 7-inch display screen, we do have a 4D variable speed joystick, which allows smooth, responsive control, as we just saw, of the panning, the tilt, and the zoom. So just to give you an example, we have camera number 1 set over here. You can see if I bring this joystick controller, let's go all the way to the right for an example, you can see the speed of the camera. But if I wanted to, let's go left now. I'm only going to go very slightly, very slowly. And you can see that this camera is moving ever so slowly over here. I can increase it. So it's very responsive. Now, let's say I wanted to go a little bit quicker. I can bring this joystick more movement to the left-hand side. Same thing with tilting up and tilting down, and along with being able to zoom in, as you see over here, and zoom out. So we have two different ways of zooming out. We can use this joystick controller right over here, or we can actually use this little knob that's going to allow us to zoom out or to zoom in, as you see, and then basically find the point that we want to focus on or we want to have in the middle of our frame, zoom in and zoom out. So it's actually really nice and easy to use. You can see that we can select each camera that we want to control. I believe this controller can actually connect up to 255 different cameras by just simply being onto the same network, the controller and the cameras. So talking about being onto the same network, take a look at the back over here on what cables I have connected to the back of this PTZ camera controller. The only thing that I have connected is a network cable over here, which is powering this controller, because this controller does support PoE, power over Ethernet. So I do not need the AC/DC power supply adapter to plug it into the wall. One cable is supplying power, and it's also supplying an IP address network that's allowing me to connect all of these cameras underneath this protocol. Same thing goes for each one of these cameras over here. This camera, the OBSBOT Tail 2, does support PoE, and that's exactly what I have connected over here, a network cable, which is charging it, powering it, and also allowing me to connect it to this controller. This other cable over here is the HDMI, which is being sent over here to the Ultra. Same thing with the Tenveo. We have a network cable here at the back, and we have the HDMI cable coming from the back of the Tenveo going to the Ultra. Same thing with the Avkans. We have a network cable and we have an HDMI cable. Same thing with the Feelworld, network cable, and also going HDMI cable to the Ultra. So as you see, each one of these devices is being powered via PoE off my PoE switch. The YOLObox Ultra is being powered right now via the internal batteries, and also this USB-C cable over here, which is charging the battery at the same time, just so you guys are a little bit more familiar with that. So what I've actually done is assigned a few different presets for each one of these cameras. So I just want to go ahead and demonstrate how easy it is to maybe save a preset and call up a preset. So right now we're in control of camera number 1. All we need to do, because I've already saved it, just press 1 and the camera goes exactly where I want it to go. Let's go press number 2. That's my preset number 2. Let's go to preset number 3. Bingo. So just to give you an example, I'm going to go ahead and pick another preset and show you how we save it. All we need to do is go and basically pan or tilt and zoom to whatever you want to focus on. We're going to use the OBSBOT Tail 2 for an example. Again, autofocus I'm using right now, and manual exposure for the Feelworld. And all we need to do now is press preset, press a number that you want to save it to, for an example 4, and press enter. That's it. It's saved. So now for an example, if I use the joystick, move away, and all I do now is press preset number 4, press 4, look what the camera does. Boom, it goes to what I just saved for preset number 4. Again, it's not no miracle or some crazy science. This is pretty standard for a PTZ camera controller to be able to save different presets. So let's go over here to camera number 2. I'm going to press cam 2, Same idea. I have full control of the camera. It might take a couple of seconds over here for the image to come up. And again, we can adjust the pan speed and also the zoom speed. You can see that it reflects over here with a little information of the value of that speed. So both of them are currently dialed down as slow as possible. So just to give you an example, we can go ahead and control this camera, tilt up, tilt down. So let's go ahead and see what presets I've saved. Preset number 1 is giving you guys a closer look over here from an angle of the PTZ camera. We'll go to preset number 2. Bingo, preset number 2. And you know what? Just to kind of make things go hand in hand over here on the YOLOBOX Ultra, I'm going to go to camera number 2 so we can see the same thing over here on both of these displays. So preset 1, bingo, preset 2, preset 3, and we'll go to preset 4. I'm not sure if I've saved one. And no, doesn't really look like I saved a preset number 4 on that camera. Let's go to camera number 3, which is the Tenveo. Again, gives it a couple of seconds for it to switch over here. I'm going to go to preset 1, which is already configured, and it's looking at my preset number 1. And I specifically did this, basically having a closer look over here at the back of the controller, which is showing you guys the connections that we have. So I'm using it to my advantage for this video. So starting off onto the right hand side, we do have the power on and off switch. Just next to that, we do have the DC 12 volt input to power it if you want to plug it into the wall. Next over here, we have the network cable. Next over here, we do have the RS422 connection for long cable runs. If you do not want to use the network connecting of the VISCA protocol, we can also use the 422. And just next to that, we do have the RS232 as well, which is going to be another hardwired option. Let's go to preset number 2. So preset number 2, bingo. What did I do? Give you guys a little bit of a closer look over here at the back of the YOLOBOX Ultra, the 4 HDMI inputs coming from the cameras, the 1 HDMI output, and the network cable. And again, that USB 3.0, which is recording to that SSD. Let's go to preset number 3. Number 3, giving you guys a closer look at the Feelworld camera so you guys can see exactly which camera it is. So I think that is my last preset that I have saved over here. There's preset number 4, and there it is, the OBSBOT Tail 2, preset number 4. So let's go back to preset number 1. Perfect. So now let's switch over to camera number 4, which is the OBSBOT Tail 2. Again, same idea. I have full control of this camera. We can adjust the speed of the pan and tilt, and along with the zoom. So let's go to preset number 1. Preset number 1, again, this is zoomed out all the way so you guys can kind of have a little behind the scenes view over here. Here is preset number 2, giving you guys a closer look at the Tenveo camera. Again, capable of supporting up to 1080p. 60 frames per second. It has NDI, it has auto tracking, it has SDI output as well, HDMI output as well. So it is a nice camera. So here we go to preset number 3, giving you guys a closer look at the Avkans camera. This is the E20. Again, it does support NDI, it has HDMI output, SDI output, etc. So the controller does support multiple control protocols as we were talking about, and NDI is actually one of those protocols. And again, the license is included for that NDI protocol if you want to use that one. It does also support VISCA, ONVIF, Pelco D, and Pelco P, which basically is going to allow us to work seamlessly with most PTZ cameras as you see over here. So as far as the easy configuration and control, again, we can manage camera parameters directly from here, the focus, the exposure, the white balance, etc. And also we do have the option, this controller does have a web interface. What does that mean? Well, we can actually enter in the controller's IP address on a web browser, and it's going to allow us to have actually some control of some settings on that web browser as well. So as we were talking about, we do have 6 different buttons over here for each camera that we want to control. This PTZ controller does allow us to connect up to 255 PTZ cameras, and this is what that camera ID button is going to allow us to do. Basically pressing the camera ID button along with what camera you want to control, and then pressing enter, and then it's going to recognize that you want to control that camera. For an example, camera number 200 or camera 150, just press camera ID 150 and press enter for an example. To be honest with you, I haven't tested it because I've only used over here, as you see, 4 cameras maximum so far with this controller, which to me I think is more than enough for a multi-camera setup. So the controller is ideal for a wide range of applications. For an example, we can use it for live streaming and broadcasting, church worship and events, video conferencing and large meetings. We can use it for sports and stage production, online education and corporate training. The list goes on. It's really useful to incorporate into your workflow. So now that you guys are a little bit more familiar with my setup, let's go ahead and get a little bit more familiar with the menu settings that we have over here onto the controller and how we actually connect it to our PTZ cameras. So what we want to do is press the setup button over here. And now you're going to see that we have the menu and some settings. Starting off onto the left hand side, you can see that we have listed at the top device list, and we can toggle between all of these and control all of this right over here with this joystick. So right now, device list, let's just scroll down. We got search for device, so we can search for devices. We'll show you guys how to do that shortly. We got manually add, so we have an option to manually add our PTZ cameras. We got system settings, for an example, the language, the sound, the system. We can do a factory reset. You can upgrade it as well, and showing you guys the version, etc. We can scroll down even more to network settings, which this is actually one of the very first settings that I configured when I first turned on to the device. And once I connected the cable over here, the network cable, I wanted to turn on the type of network to DHCP, because by default it's not set to DHCP, it is actually set to static. So having it set to DHCP as the network type is definitely going to be very helpful for you guys, because it's going to automatically search for that IP address instead of having a static one. So therefore, if all of these devices are connected to the same network switch, which is getting an IP address, a similar IP address, using the DHCP is going to automatically detect those and just make your life a lot more easier. So that is actually the very first setting that I set. And if you do adjust any settings, always be sure to press the save button over here towards the bottom. And we can go ahead and exit as well, but we're not going to exit. We're going to come back over here towards the top device list. So you can see that we do have some information over here. So let's toggle over to the right. This very first one is my camera number 1, the Feelworld. And you can see the IP address, you can see the port that I'm using, and along with the protocol. And we can scroll down to the next one. This is the Avkans camera, the IP address, the port that I'm using, and along with the protocol. Camera number 3, the Tenveo, the IP address of that specific camera, the port, and again the protocol. Same thing goes with the Tail 2, IP, port, and the protocol. So for an example, if I wanted to adjust or edit any of these camera settings that I currently have, we could go ahead and click onto this top button over here, which is going to put a check mark. We're going to scroll down over here towards the bottom and now go over here to the right and go to edit if we wanted to edit it. So what options do we have to edit? Well, we can select the protocol. So what protocols do we have available over here? Again, just to kind of repeat some information that we already talked about. As you see, I have it set to Sony VISCA. But we do also have NDI, as we talked about. We have VISCA, Pelco D, Pelco P, and we'll just scroll down here just to make sure that we have all of them, and along with ONVIF, VISCA UDP, and VISCA TCP as well. So we're going to be sticking with Sony VISCA. Perfect. So if we're done with that, we can just go ahead and select that. This is the IP address of the camera. You can find that through the camera's menu. So if we come down to the next option, which is address, again, from my understanding, address is basically which camera do you want that to be assigned to. So right now, for an example, we're controlling camera number 1, which is the Feelworld. So I would put in number 1 over here for the address. That's as far as what I've been doing. I'm not sure if it actually matters, but I believe that is the way you're supposed to do it. Next over here, the port for the Sony VISCA. This is a standard port number 52381. I just entered that over there with this little keypad. Coming over here to the baud rate, currently right now you can see it set to 2400, but I believe I did have it set to 9600, so we'll enter that over there. Username, pretty standard, it's admin, no capitals. Password, same thing, admin, ADMIN. Perfect. RTSP username, I do not have anything entered over here, but this is the part that might need a little bit of tweaking depending on which camera you have. So my RTSP URL is basically set to the IP address of that camera, which also I found onto the web interface of that camera. So it tells me what the substream and the mainstream RTSP URL is, and I just entered that over here, which is basically RTSP ... // then the IP address, and then we got another ... 554 / live /AV1. So that's what it is for the Feelworld. So not all of the cameras are the exact same, obviously the IP address, but also the ending over here towards the end of the URL. I'll maybe demonstrate as we look at the other cameras, but that's what it is for this Feelworld. So what you want to do, go ahead and press save. Bingo, modified successfully. Okay, acknowledge that. We'll go to escape just to come back over here. We'll press camera number 1. We'll make sure that we have the image over here. We sure do got the image over there of the Feelworld, and let's see if we have control of it. Yes, we sure do have control of the Feelworld. We can zoom in, zoom out, etc. And again, don't forget, currently right now, the image that we're getting over here is 720, 30 frames per second, and it actually does look quite nice. It looks like it's pretty sharp and pretty crisp. And again, the reason why I have it set to 720, because when I do want to take advantage of the quad view over here, this quad view only supports up to 720p 30 frames per second. So I did want to demonstrate and I did want to take advantage of this quad view. That's why I have it set to the substream at 720 30 frames per second. Perfect, sounds good. So let's come back over here to the menu. Let this load up. We'll press setup. We're going to go to device list, just quickly having a closer look now that you guys are a little bit more familiar. So we'll look at camera number 2, which is the Avkans. We'll select on that one, and we're going to come down over here. Say for an example, we wanted to edit it, and we using the Sony VISCA protocol, the IP address of that camera, the address. For an example, as you saw that one, the Feelworld, we had it set to camera number 1. This one, in most cases, I would set it to camera number 2. That's how I normally do it. And over here, the port, same thing, the same port that we used last time, 52381. The baud rate, 9600. Username, admin, password, admin. Scroll down over here to the RTSP URL. So if you notice, this RTSP is different from the other one. Obviously, the IP address is different because it's a different camera, and it doesn't have any text at the end of it. At least in my case, that's what's been working for me. I just have RTSP // IP address. Done. And in that case, press save, press OK. We're going to press escape, and we'll go to camera number 2. We'll make sure that we have the image being displayed over here. Boom, there's the image and full control of the camera. Let's dial down that pan and tilt. It's super quick on that camera. And again, not only do we have controls over here of the pan and tilt and zoom speed, but don't forget we also have the cameras menu as well that we can adjust and lower it or increase it if you want to. So let's go ahead back into the menu over here. I think you guys get the general idea of device list. Again, I don't want to take too much time explaining all of this, but I wanted to get you guys a little bit more familiar. So next over here, we have search for device. So this is something that I do want to show you. So let's go ahead and search for a device. So what we want to do is come over here down to search. So we'll just toggle to the right. Right there is search. We're going to tap on that. So now it's asking us, well, what protocol do you want to search for? ONVIF or NDI? Well, these cameras do support NDI besides the Feelworld. So we'll search for NDI and let's see which cameras come up. Searching, please wait. Okay, perfect. So we do have two cameras that come up over here. One is the Tenveo and the one at the top is the Avkans. The Tail 2 did not come up right now because it does not support RTSP and NDI at the same time. I can only have one of them activated, which is just something to kind of consider with the Tail 2. So I'm taking advantage of the RTSP, which is giving me the image that we saw here onto the screen, which is not allowing me again to also control this camera via NDI. So I can only pick one or the other, but in this case with the Avkans and the Tenveo, it is allowing me to send the substream for the image preview, and it's also allowing me, if I want to send NDI, which is definitely really nice. And I could connect these two cameras to this YOLO Box Ultra via NDI and totally not use the HDMI cables. So if you wanted to add one of these cameras, you just go ahead and select it. We can scroll down over here to the bottom and you can add that camera. So I'm not going to do that right now because these cameras are already connected via the Sony VISCA protocol, but that is how you would be able to do that, by adding the camera, searching for it, and then adding them. All right, so we'll press escape for now. looks good. We'll go to manually add, which is the next option, which is pretty self-explanatory. So we can go ahead and adjust some of the settings over here, like the channel, the protocol we can pick from, what protocol we want to use. We can also use the set up the IP address for that camera. We can set the address, the port, the baud rate, all the same settings that we pretty much had before, and along with over here the RTSP URL for that specific camera, so we can see the preview coming in. So again, just to kind of make things a little bit more clear for you, the protocol is going to allow you to control the cameras, and the RTSP URL is going to allow you to preview the image of the camera onto the display screen. Once that it's all configured, pretty straightforward, go ahead and press save. So I'm going to escape for now. We're going to come over here to system set, which we already looked at. And other than that, I think that's it. We have the network setting, which we already looked at. DHCP is definitely my recommendation. So let's come back over here. We're going to go to escape. I want to show you guys that some of the controls that we have. So which camera are we controlling right now? Camera number 2, which is the Avkans. Perfect. We'll use the Avkans. So let's use some of these control knobs over here. So we already saw the pan and tilt speed. We did also see the zoom speed. Now I want to go ahead and show you that we have the iris, the shutter, and the gain control as well. So we can go ahead and basically press this button down to toggle between all 3 of those options, and we can rotate it as well. And as we rotate it, we're going to see what we're actually controlling. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate this, and what that's going to allow me to do, you're going to see it reflect over here onto the screen. I'm adjusting the iris, the aperture. You can see it's getting darker, or now it's getting brighter. As you see, I'm rotating it. Look at the image being reflected over here. Let's go ahead and do the same thing over here onto the Ultra, so we can kind of see that it's doing it to both via the HDMI out and the preview that we have here onto the controller. So just like that, we can adjust the aperture / iris of that camera. Nice and convenient. So now if we press this button again, it's going to take us to shutter. And now we can adjust this knob. We can rotate it, and we can adjust the shutter speed. As you can see, it's reflecting the exposure right over here. I have it manually controlled, adjusting the shutter speed. So you just want to find that spot that you like, that you want to expose, and you're good to go. Now let's press it again. Now it's going to adjust the gain, and the gain is basically like the ISO, the brightness sensitivity. So let's go ahead and adjust this. Look how bright that's becoming. Or for an example, we can make it darker. Or if we wanted to, we can go ahead and use auto exposure by right over here. So let's go ahead and quickly demonstrate. Let's bring the gain down. Let's bring the iris down. Okay, maybe a little bit of bright. That looks not bad. So you can see that it's dark. Maybe you don't want to do this manually yourself. You just want the camera to do it automatically. So we can just go ahead and press the auto exposure button. And bingo, the camera is now auto exposing, and along with auto focusing, which it's been doing the whole time. Fantastic. And if you want to cycle back to manual, boom, you got the manual exposure. We got different options over here. So we got shutter priority, iris priority, and manual exposure. So that's what it's currently set to. So let's just go ahead and adjust this. There's the iris. We'll open it up a little bit. We're going to adjust the gain, make it a little bit brighter. Perfect. I'm happy with that. Or to auto. So what else do we have here? We have R gain and B gain. So that is the white balance setting over here. So we can adjust the red and the blue gain. So the image, how do we want it to look? Do we want to fine tune it a little bit, the white balance? So I don't usually like to mess around with this because I've already set it to my own custom white balance setting. But just to quickly demonstrate, let's go ahead and rotate this dial. Wow, that looks super green really quick. And now we can rotate it, and let's see what happens. We're going to add some red in there. You can see that it's looking a lot more warmer, but the colors definitely look off. So you know what? I'm not really too happy with the way that it's looking. So this might be a perfect example why we want to use the auto white balance. So let's press auto white balance. Perfect. Look at that. One touch of a button. Everything looks nice and white balanced. These are nice, perfect colors, and along with the exposures looking quite nice too. So we can use the cycle button over here to adjust the different presets for the white balance. So that one was indoor, that is outdoor, and we got one push white balance and manual white balance. So the manual currently is not looking too great right now. Let's go ahead and use the auto for an example, make things a little bit easier. Perfect. So let's move along over here. We do have some buttons, menu, back, and enter. So this menu, back, and enter buttons, these are actually buttons that's going to allow us to access the camera's menu. So if you wanted to get into a little bit more camera menu settings, specifically for whatever camera you have control of, it's going to allow you to do that. So right now, camera number 2, the Avkans, we can press the menu button and take a look at this. the camera menu is now being displayed over here on the controller, along with over here on the YOLO Box Ultra. So how can I control the camera menu? Well, you could use the remote control for that camera, but now that we have the controller, we can just use the joystick over here to basically go to whatever settings we want to control. And for an example, come in over here to PTZ controls, and now we can toggle down, go up or left or right, and adjust whatever we need to adjust, the pan tilt speed, etc, etc. So we do have a lot of control over here. So from my understanding, from my testing, I haven't been able to activate the auto tracking on the controller for these PTZ cameras. So we're gonna have to be able to do that within the camera's menu, which you can just go ahead and activate. And if you wanted to exit or close this menu, just press menu again and it closes off. Perfect, good stuff. So now that you guys are familiar with these buttons, now we have these focus buttons. So we have near, far, and auto. So from my understanding, the camera's set to auto. Let's just press auto right now. Perfect, it's set to auto, it's illuminated, but if I wanted to manually control it myself, let's go ahead and take a look. Let's bring something maybe that I want to focus on. Let's come up over here. Looks good, let's zoom in a bit. This might be a good demonstration. So that looks like autofocus is doing a great job, but maybe I wanted to adjust the focus myself. We're gonna go to near. We can press this button here and now you can see that it's focusing on something a little bit closer. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Let's try focusing on these knobs over here for an example. Looking good. I think those knobs look like they're in focus. Or if I wanted to go back onto the joystick, we'll just keep on pressing the far button until it looks like it's in focus, which looks like it's doing a good job. At any time, you can go ahead and press the autofocus button, snaps back in autofocus. So that's very good. We already looked at this control over here as far as the zoom as well. Oh, this is actually a nice cool feature over here. So we have this plus and minus button, which is labeled as bright. Don't quote me on this, but I could tell you and show you that it just looks like it's generally making the image from that camera brighter or darker. It doesn't look like it's affecting the shutter or the iris or the gain, the ISO. It just looks like it's just a general brightness or darkness of the camera. So let's just go ahead and demonstrate. Take a look at how the image is exposed over here. We're going to make it brighter. Press the plus icon. We'll press it again. Press it again, press it again, and again, and again, and again. You can see how bright this image is becoming, or we can make it darker. And there you go. So yeah, that's what it looks like it's doing. All of my iris and shutter and gain settings, I looked on the camera's menu and I did not see that value change, but for some reason or somehow, it's allowing me to adjust the brightness over here. One thing that I will say, just to be honest with you guys, it would be nice to be able to see a value here on the controller, what I'm actually adjusting as far as the value. So if I go up 2 notches, like I say I'm +2, I want to be able to see that. So if I ever need to return back to a specific shot and have the same exposure, I can reference a number here and go back to like 0 or +1 or +3, whatever it is. So having a value of this brightness onto this display would be nice to maybe have incorporated in a future firmware update. But overall, this controller, it is what it is, guys. As you guys can see, it's easy plug and play. We got this nice big preview screen, 7 inches LCD. We got the quad view over here. We got multiple different protocols and camera brands that we can connect and control. It's really a pleasure to work with. And even in this quad view over here, I can just switch to the other camera and now have full control of this camera as well, which actually reminds me, since I switched over to the Tenveo, why don't we go ahead and activate. Let's switch over here as well. Why don't we go ahead and activate the auto tracking with this Tenveo? So again, we can't do it, at least from my understanding in my testing, we can't do it directly onto the controller. Unfortunately, it would be nice to be able to do, or maybe I just don't know how to do it, but from my understanding, I don't think we can. So for us to be able to do it, we have 2 different options. We can use the remote control, the IR remote control that comes with the camera. You can just press the AI auto tracking button here, or you can do it by pressing the menu button and going into the camera's menu itself and using the joystick controller to activate the auto tracking. So for now, I think it might just be easier just to press one button over here onto the controller. So let's go ahead and press it. Boom, I pressed it. I saw the flash. Let's go ahead and see if it turned on. Let's gonna move over here to the left. Yeah, it's following me all right. Look, controller, I'm gonna put it down here on the table. I'm not using the controller. It's the camera tracking me. I think I didn't really fine tune any of my auto tracking settings for this setup over here. I feel like it's a little bit on the slower side, which could be a good thing because I don't really want it to be jerky. It looks like it's really smooth panning left and right. Well guys, it looks like we reached that time of the video to give you my overall thoughts and opinion of this controller. If you guys cannot tell already throughout the course of this video, I am impressed with this device. Why? Well, because the price that we're paying and for what we're getting, all the features that are jam-packed into this controller, I definitely feel it's going to help with our workflow. If you're going to be using PTZ cameras, we have a bunch of different protocols that you can connect for your cameras to this controller. For an example, a network based that I've been using, or even a serial based if you want to use that method as well. The NDI license is included as far as the NDI protocol if you want to use that. My favorite feature about the controller, if you guys cannot tell already, maybe it's your favorite feature, is the 7-inch display screen, nice and big. We have a nice clear view of the camera that we are controlling, which is going to be helpful. Why? Well, I want to make sure that I'm in focus. I want to make sure that my exposure is good, my framing, my composition is exactly how I want it, so I have a nice clear view and easily switch between the nice single preview or my second favorite feature, which is the quad view, being able to see 4 cameras simultaneously at the same time so we don't miss any of the action. We always have an eye on our cameras and being able to easily switch between which camera we want to control. I really do like the screen. Again, the quad view. None of my other PTZ camera controllers do have that quad view onto the display screen, so I really feel that is like probably the main feature of this controller. So one thing that I would like to possibly see improved on this controller, maybe in a future firmware update, if you guys recall when I was manually controlling my exposure, the iris, the gain, the shutter speed, I would like to see a value on the screen on whatever setting I'm controlling. So I know what setting I'm controlling, but I want to know the value of whatever I'm setting. So if I adjust my shutter speed, I kind of want to have an idea what my shutter speed is set to. I don't want to just kind of guess or go by eye according to what the brightness looks like. Same thing with the gain and the iris. I just want to have and see a value somewhere there onto the screen, even if it's not the exact value of the shutter speed, for an example 1/50 or 1/60 and so on. I just want to be able to see like a number, so if I need to recreate that shot, that exposure, I can basically redo that because I know what number I used last and I can kind of go back to it again. But you know what, that's if you prefer to use the manual exposure, but most cases, as you guys saw, the auto exposure also works quite nice, again depending on which camera you're using, but it's easy to access and control right over here on the controller. Overall guys, there's lots to cover. Hopefully I covered quite a bit into this video. Hopefully you guys learned something. If you guys do have any questions or comments or anything, you already know what to do. Let me know down into the comment section down below. And guys, if you have made it this far, I 100 appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys making it this far, and go ahead and subscribe if you guys haven't subscribed right now. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys onto the next video. Till next time, peace.